Welcome back to the Defining Moments podcast. My name is Wong Lam, and today's legendary guest is my great friend, Nate Gomez. Nate, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, you are on episode number 5 and number 22. Before we go into a review of your podcast and your life so far, if you don't mind, would you mind blessing this podcast for us?
Sure, absolutely. Heavenly Father, God, we just thank you for Wong and for Margie and for Defining Moments. And I just pray that you would bless this podcast and all of the listeners and everybody who's impacted by the stories that are told on this podcast. I just pray that you put your hand on it and just bless it. Bless our time today and our conversation. And I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, bud.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Episode 5 was a tough one for you. We talked about how you won the Red Man back in 2014.
Yeah.
And then how you got laid off from Chesapeake and you went through a pretty tough time in your life. And then to episode 22, where you actually found a job with FCA. And we'll leave it at that for right now. But what's been the transition? What's been the toughest thing for you from episode 5 to 22?
Man, that's a good question. I think, in episode 5, I was in a place where I had a lot of uncertainty. I had a place, I didn't know if I was ever going to get a job, and then my prayer and my position with just in my mentality was, I was just kind of in a desperate place, but it made me so thankful for everything, thankful to be able to provide for my family and stuff. And so the challenges, I think, today are not necessarily harder, they're maybe just different, but things are good, man. Things are really positive for us, and I'm thankful.
Yeah. I remember when we did episode 22, I keep saying chapter 22.
Yeah.
You might as well write a book about Nate Gomez. Is actually, you ever think about writing a book?
Yeah, man, I don't know. I enjoy writing, and I don't know that I could write a whole book. I've tried to make, like a little ebook at one time, but I just give it away. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. So,
yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah. You're in episode 22. It was one of the first times in a while that you actually got to take your daughter out to buy school clothes and shoes, and you're telling me the story and how much joy she actually had doing that.
Yeah, man. One of my favorite movies is Cinderella Man, played by Russell Crowe, and he plays James Braddock, the boxer, and he was an up and coming boxer, and he had a defeat which led to an injury which took place during the Depression. So these series of negative things, and then he found himself, fighting these little, circus little fights and just getting beat up and not getting paid, and then, something happens and he gets a second chance, and he has one of the greatest comeback in sports history, and one of the reporters asks him, hey, what's changed? You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't win a fight to save your life. And he said, this time around, I know what I'm fighting for. And the reporter says, what's that? And he says, milk, and he means, providing milk for his kids. And man, I relate to that so much. I relate to that moment and that scene. And that's how I feel, there's as a father, providing for your family is, I've said this, the greatest thing you can ever do for a man is give him the opportunity to provide for his family.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling this go around for me is, I know what I'm fighting for, and I just have kind of a different perspective.
Yeah. So how are you doing today, man?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I think so. I think, I'm a person that is, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be like, man, things are great. I'm loving it. And not because I'm not happy. I think just because I want more, not selfishly, but I just want to do the most I can with what I've been given. I want to provide for my family. I want to help people. I want to bless people. I want to make a greater impact. But with that, I'm learning patience and just gratitude and thankfulness. And so I'm always thankful. I'm always grateful. And I pray this often, God, if nothing changes, I have so much to be grateful for, right?
Yeah.
If nothing changes, I owe my life just the praise to God for what he's done. But there's a burning in my heart to see something happen, something great, and be a part of it, and to make a greater impact. So just sort of that healthy tension between, thankfulness and striving to be better and to achieve more. So I think that's just part of my personality.
Yeah. How's April doing? April's your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think April's doing good. She recently took a trip to the Grand Canyon. We work out at Mercy Fitness Center, and one of her favorite things is to go sit in the sauna. And she'll just sit in there, and she'll tell me, like, before she goes, I hope I don't see anybody, because she likes to have the time alone. And I think she goes in there and prays and gets her heart right. But what's funny is, like, Hannah and I know that she's going to meet somebody in the sauna, It's kind of like this ongoing weird thing that she meets these people. And April's personality, we can be anywhere and somebody will come up and talk to her. We don't even know. And it's like they just start pouring their heart out to April. I mean, it's this weird thing. And so she meets these people in the sauna, and so she come home and tell us these crazy stories about people who she's met in the sauna. And so one day she went to the sauna and she met a lady, and this lady invited her to go to the Grand Canyon. And so she comes home and tells Hannah and I, we're like, you met some lady in the sauna who invited you to go to the Grand Canyon. And so April was like, I think I'm going to do it. And we were like, all right, well, and I think we just sort of like, all right, this may or may not happen. But sure enough, she did. And she got to build a relationship with this lady, which turned into a great friendship.
Yeah.
And then her and about 8 other ladies, they went to and hiked the Grand Canyon. They did it all in one day. From the North Rim to the South Rim, and she said it was one of the hardest and best things that she's ever done. So she's been, we were praying for her, and so me and Hannah, we toughed it for a week, and we were cheering her on, man. She did great, and so she's doing good. April's at a good place, and so she's good. Same with me. She's got, she didn't go through what we went through in the same way that I did, but she came out of it with the same sense of appreciation and gratitude and perspective and maturity, and it didn't get the best of us, So we survived, and I think we're better than we've ever been as a couple and as parents, and we're just really grateful. So
yeah. I remember seeing April. It was your birthday, I think. Earlier this year. Yeah. And we were out there, and you guys seemed awesome, just happy and everything. Hannah seemed excited. Yeah. Speak of Hannah, how's she doing?
She's doing good. Yeah. So my birthday's funny. They, I'm a giver, and I don't say that like as like, I do this thing. It really is kind of like I feel the best and the most natural version of myself when I'm able to give. When I'm providing, and I'll give everything away. If somebody gave me $1 million today, I would give 100% of it away. I mean, that's just my nature. If somebody gives me something, I immediately think of who can I give this to. And so my birthday is always a challenge for people who in my life, they're like, what do we get, Nate? Because my greatest thing is to give to other people. And so, my birthday, I used to give gifts away on my birthday, and so I think that was their thing. It was like they wanted this party for me. You know what I mean? They were going to throw this 40th birthday party for Nate. So I was happy, man. I was happy you guys came and everybody who came. And so I was happy for them that they felt like they pulled it off. And so, I was like, yeah, you guys did it, even though it was supposed to be about my birthday. But it's not natural for me to celebrate myself it's just kind of how I'm wired. But it was fun, man. And Hannah's doing good. She just finished school. She had a really tough year at school with making friends and fitting in, and that's kind of her personality and her journey. And as a parent, it's hard to watch, but at the same time, I can see her future. She's got really some just special things in her heart, and she's just a unique kid, and she might not ever fit in. You know what I mean? Because I think she's a world changer. I think she has this greatness and this purity and this something just, I can't even put it into words, and sometimes I feel like we capture it when we take pictures. When I take a picture of her, I think it comes out, and I'm so excited. I'm like, this is what I see, you know, and I get to kind of show people like this is who she is, and so, but it's hard to even put into words that she's what she has and how special she is, and she's just a good kid. And sometimes she's lonely, and as an only child, she struggles with friendships, but she's good, you know, and she'll tell me when we were getting ice cream the other day, and we were somewhere, and I can't remember what we were doing, and she was having to pick what she wanted. It wasn't ice cream, but she was having to pick, and there was this little kid behind us, and they were like, "I want all of it," you know. But it was the way the kid was saying it, you know. And this kid was about Hannah's age, and I think it was a little boy, and he was like, "I want all of them," and his mommy was like, you know. And Hannah Hannah afterwards, she goes, "I know that you and mommy spoil me," she said, "but I'm thankful that I'm not a spoiled brat," you know. And it was like, she's so mature, you know what I mean? She has this perspective, and she knows how to communicate things, and she's a great kid, you know what I mean? Here she has this deep appreciation, and she knows that we just long to be good to her, but she knows that she doesn't have, you know, where it's out of whack, and she's, you know, so she's a good kid. She makes parenting so easy. We had this mom in our neighborhood driving down the street. Her kid was running away from home, and then she was chasing down this little 5-year-old or whatever. And she rolled down her window, and she goes, "Does your kid ever just give you like problem?" I don't know. She said something like, "Do you like when your kid?" And April and I looked at each other, and I was like, no, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm sorry about your bad kid.
Yeah,
I don't know. That sounds terrible, right?
Yeah.
Judgmental, which it is, but she's so good. Like, Hannah's so good. It's the first thing I say when people are like, you know, she's so good. She's a really good kid, and she's a special kid, and I mean, I love her to death. So that's a long answer to your question, but Hannah's good. We're good, you know, and things are going well. So,
No, I love it. Speaking of pictures, recently Lieutenant Governor Purnell of Oklahoma had his contest. And I think he picked the top 25 pictures to be in the governor's mansion. Right? And of all the thousands of pictures that were submitted, including mine, by the way, dude, I didn't even get a, "Hey, thanks for submitting, bro." You placed.
So somebody tagged me in the post and said, "Hey, Nate, you should submit to this," or whatever. And
I'll take credit for that.
And was it you? Yeah, okay. And so I sometimes whenever I see a lot of people rush to something, I walk away. I don't know if that's kind of a weird deal, but like, but then I said, you know what? And if for some reason people want to see my photos, then so you use the hashtag OK Travel Tourism or something travel. And so I just tagged a few of my photos that I like that I've taken of Oklahoma, and then and I tagged like just in my Instagram, you know, ones that I already posted, just kind of put it under there. I didn't know if they would see it or not, and I got an email, and what's funny is when I saw the post on Facebook, and then all these people are like shots they've taken with their phone, you know, in their car, and I just, oh man, these poor people they opened up a can of worms, and every person with a cell phone in Oklahoma who's ever seen a sunset is just flooding this, you know. So I'm like, man, they're gonna have a hard time. And then I was glad to see that they picked some they were able to find some really good, and the other photos I had a chance to look at, and man, there's some great photos and some great photographers, and there's some great photographers in Oklahoma who have great pictures that maybe didn't get picked for whatever reason. Maybe they just didn't get seen. So just because I was seen, or you know, it could have been the right moment, maybe they didn't have a photo from the area that my shot was taken or whatever, but it's an honor, and it's something that, you know, I met a guy for breakfast just yesterday morning, and I was telling him about photography, and he was like, "Man, so you're really like into photography and stuff." He's like, "What kind of photographer are you?" And he was trying to figure out, you know, are you a nature photographer? Are you a people photographer? And I was like, "Man, I'm not a photographer at all. Like, I don't even know. I just enjoy taking pictures." And I said, "Man, I just hope that people see God through my photos." I don't know how else to say it. Like, I hope that when people see my photos, that it makes them feel something, and that maybe they're like, golly, that's, it touches their hearts. And he said, man, he goes, what I'm hearing from you is not that photography is a hobby, but it's an act of worship. And I've never had somebody say that. And when he did, I was like, man, that's how it feels. He's like somebody who makes music, they just kind of have to do it, and I'm not saying that I have a gift or anything, but it is something that at times where I feel like, man, I want to go out and take a picture. And so I enjoy it, man. And God will sometimes bring encouragement to me through that, when work and other things get challenging, like all of a sudden, like somebody will feature a photo or something like the contest. It's just sort of like God encouraging me to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And like there's a white deer in our backyard, and I went and like found the white deer and took a picture of it, and this is crazy, and I think God just kind of puts me in the right place at the right time, and when I'm out there with my camera, I feel like myself. I feel the most true version of me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't ever find that,
Right.
And for me, I found it, and it's with pictures, and whether anybody ever likes them or anything or not, I enjoy doing it. And man, I pray that I can continue to do it. So
yeah.
But thanks for asking, man.
Yeah. Well, it is a gift. You do have a gift to do that, and it's very expressive. It's very authentic and true.
Yeah.
And I say that because I have 3 of your pictures in my house, and the one with the white deer I saw on Twitter and Instagram. That's amazing too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. All the pictures you've taken, as I mentioned in the podcast, have been amazing. It's probably because, like you said, you're the one having the most fun.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Yeah.
And it's your true authentic self.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet Lieutenant Governor Matt Purnell when?
No, I met him one time. He was when he was running for election. He was at the Brahms in Edmond on Covell.
Oh yeah.
And for whatever reason, I was like, dude, what's up? You're Matt Purnell. You're running for lieutenant governor. And we talked very briefly, and I said, man, I'm voting for you, and I appreciate it. And that was about it. That's the only time I've met him. And we interact very little on social media.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's a great guy, and he's doing really good things. And I've heard nothing but really good things about him. I heard his episode on your podcast. And, man, he's a great guy and humble guy. And man, they're doing what needs to be done in Oklahoma, which is just we need some great leaders thinking big and doing good things. So I'm pulling for him and praying for him, and I'm thankful that he's in his position. So
yeah, that's true. He was on this podcast, and the first time I really met him was he was like, yeah, I'll come on the podcast. Showed up in his truck with his campaign manager. We did a podcast. He didn't ask for stats. He didn't ask for how many followers I had. He was just like, yeah, let's do this podcast. Yeah. And Margie and I were taken aback because when you do that, it's so authentic and so true.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, man, how am I going to do this? Yeah. It reminds me a lot about you because for FCA, you speak to student athletes, right? I mean, you speak to thousands of kids.
Yeah.
Is it always the same message or?
Sometimes it is. I as an athlete, as a wrestler, I have a powerful story, but I have a story, and so if I'm going to speak to an FCA and they want to hear about my journey as an athlete and then coming to faith, then I usually share my testimony, especially if I'm speaking to wrestlers or if I know wrestlers are going to be there, I share it. And then there's other times where, where somebody say, hey, they give me a little bit of background of where the group is, and I can kind of shape my message to that. Or if, I'm going to speak on, a different deal, I can kind of shape it and build it differently. But yeah, so.
What do you enjoy about speaking to the young men and women?
Yeah, and so I think with FCA that I think there's a tendency to, man, if we have an athlete who's good at sports, who's accomplished, and they have a little bit of faith, you know what I mean? Or they just have this, oh man, I think I saw him praying in the end zone. You know what I mean? Maybe we could get this guy to come speak to our group. And so there tends to be maybe a tilt towards accomplishment in terms of athletics. Does that make sense?
I got you. Yeah.
And so we want some big name guy who also proclaims Jesus, but they've won a Super Bowl or something like that. And so, my message isn't really as an accomplished athlete, but it really kind of is a message of faith. And so what I found when I come in and share is that it's not just, man, I've done things with sports and, hey, God's a part of my life. It's really more about like my life got radically transformed and changed, and boom, here's my message. And so sometimes I find the audience is just like, I think they're surprised, they're just like, boom, I don't know if we were ready for that. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I just am always going to be myself. I'm always going to be real, and I'm always going to share an impactful story. And whatever group I'm going to speak, and I try to maintain this perspective, no matter where I go or what I say, is there's always one person that needs to hear what I have to say, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if there's 500 people there or there's 10 kids there. One of those kids needs to hear what I have to say.
Right.
And that's the kid I'm speaking to. And if I miss 9, that's okay. But if I hit that one and connect with that one heart, then it's worth it. And so that's what I try to do. And man, I think God has blessed that for me. And man, I don't know. I pray for not greater opportunities, but maybe to be seen in a bigger capacity. You know what I mean? Sometimes it feels like I'm just sort of treading through, but it's a blessing, man. And every opportunity you have to go speak to a group is an honor. It's a privilege. It's a responsibility, and so I'm thankful.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I know from just being a friend of yours, you are a very dynamic speaker, very unique on your delivery. Yeah. It's always captivating.
Yeah.
So that one person, when you're talking about, I'm that one person in that crowd, like, this is what I needed to hear. He's talking to me.
Yeah.
It's like, did you hear that he's talking to me?
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of uniqueness, we also had Joni Manavong. She is the owner of 31 Mugs here in Edmond, Oklahoma. She came on and did an episode, and she makes mugs uniquely to businesses or individuals. And so we had her make you a mug.
That's cool.
If you want to check it out.
Yeah, this is awesome. So her voice is like the most unique voice ever on your podcast. You got this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. All right. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man, I'll have to tell her thank you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's what we wanted to
thanks, man.
give you as a gift for.
That is awesome.
Not just coming on the podcast.
No, I appreciate it.
That's
so cool.
We appreciate you, man.
Man, she's a special girl and lady, and she has, somebody who understands a calling of something that maybe people don't understand. You know what I mean? Like make coffee mugs. That might sound odd, but she's going forward with it with boldness and with courage. And you would think like, well, you're just making coffee mugs, but she puts her heart and her spirit into it.
Right. She
feels like God is calling her to do it, and she is blessing her through it. It's a cool thing, right?
Very cool. Yeah.
So it's so encouraging, and I'm just cheering for her. She's doing her thing, and I appreciate that gift. That means a lot. That's a good one. That's a good gift, man. Thank you.
Well, you always say that.
Yeah.
You got this.
You got this.
And we say that to people too. So we wanted you to have something unique.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
So cool.
For sure. How does Nate Gomez enjoy life?
Yeah. Man, I kind of thought about that question, and I think maybe I kind of answered it a little bit with that quote of from Cinderella Man. But I've said this to myself, even if to nobody else. I mean, the greatest thing that you can give a man, a father or husband is to provide for their family. And man, like I think because I've gone through a season of not being able to do that, the enjoyment for me and for life is to be able to provide for April and Hannah. April is getting to stay at home with Hannah this summer, and to me, like them just sleeping in and doing whatever they want to do, like today or whenever, and Hannah going to birthday parties, and April, it just it makes me happy. You know what I mean? Like the word enjoy, like I don't know, because I know what it feels like to not have that, and it's not like they're going, come on, but I just struggled as a man, as a husband, as a provider. You feel your confidence and a lack of confidence, and it was for me, it's a bad place to be. And so what do I enjoy about life? is, man, it sounds simple, but just kind of like, in Cinderella Man, James Braddock, he said, this time around, I know what I'm fighting for. I think, man, that's it for me.
Yeah.
This was really just getting provided, and not like we have a lot or an abundance, because we don't. There's things we have to say no to, but man, to be able to provide food and clothing and shelter is a big deal. And so, man, I'm more than thankful. It really is. It's a joy. And that's what I enjoy about life.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that's awesome, man. What are some of your morning habits? Let's take it to what are a couple of things that are non-negotiable for you? You have Nate Gomez has to do this in the morning.
Yeah. So I think a few years ago, had you asked me that question, my morning habits would look different. When I was working at Chesapeake and training for Ironman triathlons, I would wake up at 4:30 every morning. And then I would drive to work, and I would do the dishes at work, and I would set the coffee in the coffee pot so somebody could just push the button and it would be ready, And then I would go run or bike or swim, for however long, and then go back to work. And then at work, I would go to lunch and go work out again at lunch. And then, when they had half a day Fridays, so they would work 9-hour work days and then half a day Friday. Well, man, I had so much PTO, I just started taking off the half a day Friday, and I could take off like every Friday for half the year. And it was, so then I would do my big training on Friday mornings, and I do like 90-mile bike ride and then hop off and run 10 to 20 miles, and that was my Friday workout. But every morning was just up and working out, training. And through that time, I would pray, and I would kind of think about like maybe a Bible verse. But then when things kind of came to an end for me, training came to an abrupt end. I lost my job shortly after, and working out in the morning was kind of, it just sort of got, everything sort of kind of got a little just out of place, and I was trying to kind of figure out my new thing. And this is really clear. Like God, I don't throw this around. I've heard people say, "Man, God spoke to me." God, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like really. But I read a verse, and man, I've read it several times. But this time it spoke to me, and Jesus says, "Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." And my bread, my sustenance, the things that I was using to feed myself were like, I want to say like training and striving and achieving and trying to accomplish something, but it was deeper than that. Like what, I don't even know if I could put into words what I was trying to like accomplish with all of it. It was just this sort of like, I was frustrated in my job, and so I just trained and kind of buried all this weird pain. Instead of dealing with stuff, I would just go, like weird, like suffering, running and training. It's very difficult to even put into words. And in a weird way, it was like I was trying to prove to myself or to others. I don't even know, and then I think God was in all of that. And I don't think it was wrong. I think it was maybe out of whack, but I think I came to a place where I think my morning habits now will be my morning habit for the rest of my life, which I wake up and no matter how tired I am, my first thing I have to do is open my notebook with my pen, and I have the Bible app, and I've read through the Bible since I got let go. I've read through the Bible twice, and I'm in my third time of reading through it, and I will continue to do that for the rest of my life. The first hour of my morning, every morning, will be no distractions, no anything, just my time alone and in the quiet. There's been times where I'm sitting at the table and I can see out my back window, and there's the most amazing sunset or sunrise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my heart is like, my camera's right here, and I just want to go take a picture. But I just think that, man, God's just with me right here in this time, and I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's weird or legalistic, like I'm trapped and I have to do this. But
yeah,
for me, the very first thing in my day is spending that time getting my heart and my mind in the right direction. And it can go, I know myself apart from that. And it's not who I want to be.
Yeah.
And I know when I'm spending time in the Word, it just renews and reminds me of the real person that I want to be. And that time with the Lord. And since my 40th birthday, this was kind of weird, but I felt like, and I share this, I guess I don't really care what people think, but I felt like God was telling me to get on my knees,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how else to say it, but so I'll spend time in the Word, and then I'll physically get on my knees and just, man, God is so good and so great, and I'm so grateful, and I don't want to live my life meaningless, and
Yeah.
God, I can't do this without you,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do this without you, and so that's been kind of part of my morning habit. But first part of every day, man, is spending time with the Lord, and then I go about, and I still work out and train.
Mm-hmm.
It's different now, I still swim and run and try to stay fit, but it's different.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
What are a couple things that people don't know about Nate Gomez?
April always says, I think people will be surprised to know that you are, introvert, and people throw like introvert, extrovert out, and I don't really like those words, but there are people who like to be around people and are social and like have to be around people, and there are people who can be okay with not being around people, and sometimes would rather not be around people.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of one of those people that would, and right or wrong, I enjoy going to lunch all by myself, sitting there eating all by myself, and April's like, I don't know how you do that. Like it's easy. You just order food and sit down and you eat it. And in the car, I don't listen to the radio. I think through triathlon, I discovered that I just kind of enjoy that solitude and silence and that peace and talking to myself in the right way. And I think it's I don't know. So I think April would say, I think a lot of people think you're this outgoing person and you're this real, and I don't know, but I think, I'm not, I'm kind of more, I guess, an introvert. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good. That's fine, man.
I don't know. Yeah. So that's probably, there's some other things people don't know, but I think that's what April would say. So,
do people know that you are an ambassador for Newton?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So Newton running, man. Yeah, I don't know if people know I'm an ambassador, but so Newton running, man, their shoes are unique. They have a unique product. Their shoes are designed different. Their styles are bright and fun colors. And when I first got into triathlon, I immediately, I don't know why, but Newton's had just hit, and I was at Red Coyote, and I was just shopping, and I don't even know why I was there. And this guy came in the store, and he goes, "Man," he goes, "I don't want to talk to the people who work here, because I don't like to be sold on stuff." He goes, "You look like a runner." And so, I'm brand new, so I'm like, "Oh, this guy knows how to talk to me," I'm like, and he goes, "What's the best shoe? Well, tell me what the best shoe is." I'm wearing Newtons, what I mean? And I'm loving Newtons, and so I'm telling him, and I said, "Listen, man," I'm telling him my whole story. And I said, "I was a wrestler. And on a wrestling mat, your shoes are so flat, and the balls of your feet, you depend upon the balls of your feet, and you know what it feels like to be in position as a wrestler based on the balls of your feet." I don't know how to explain it. And when I put on shoes that are Newtons, they have these lugs that run right on the balls of your feet, and I just felt like these shoes were made for me, And I felt fat. I'm telling him I'm faster. I used to have shin splints. These things will heal you. You know what I mean? And he's like taking it all in, and he's nodding. Like this guy is getting life changed at Red Coyote, and he leaves. And one of the guys who works there, he goes, "Man, do you know who that is?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "That's Danny Absher. He owns Newton. He's one of the founders of Newton Running." And so I was like, "Whoa," you know what I mean? Like it was funny because I'm selling him on Newtons, right? I don't even work there. And this guy owns Newton Running, So I wanted to contact him and apologize, but I think that's what he wanted to hear, And so
yeah, for sure.
And then, so, just because I would take pictures and I would post pictures of myself, and they weren't like these running pictures. You know, people post pictures of their workout. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
how did you run? And
Yeah.
you know, were you working out or were you posing for the workout? And so I unapologetically just not working out, just taking pictures of myself in the shoes in unique ways, maybe jumping. I don't know. And they found me and they're like, hey Nate, you know, if we send you a pair of shoes, would you take pictures in them? And then that kind of led to an ambassadorship. So it's not because I'm a great athlete. I think we have this mutual, like, I love their shoes. They love, you know, that I love their shoes, and they know, and I've worn their shoes for a long time, and man, they're great people. Newton Running they have a great product, but their business is a great business. They do the right thing. Man, they always are. They put people first, and they're just great. They're great in every way. So I'm thankful for them. But yeah, so it's cool, and I'm an ambassador, and even if I wasn't an ambassador, I'd still wear Newtons.
Yeah.
I love them, and so it's fun. It's cool.
Yeah, well, you're the reason why I bought Newtons.
Nice.
And I told myself, well, when my calves get as big and nice as his, I'll buy some. They're not anywhere as big or nice as yours, but I got Newtons on anyways.
That's funny, man. You got good calves, dude.
I think on the tattoos,
That's
man.
funny.
But like I said, my calves aren't big enough for that tattoo.
No,
so
that's funny.
One day.
Yeah, that's
one day.
awesome. That's
and I didn't realize you're the ambassador of Newton for a while. And so I actually tweeted out to Newton and asked them if they would make some dress shoes of Newton made up of like the sole of the Newtons. Yeah. Because you're right, I do feel faster. I mean, like I'm running, like you're supposed to sprint on the ball of your feet.
The way you land, it forces you kind of to, it chops up your step. And so you find yourself, you know, you're almost like it speeds up your pace a little bit.
Right.
For me, it did. You know, I was always this big, long run, clunky, you know, wrestler running, you know, and then it forced me to make, you know, kind of this choppier step, which truly changed the way that I ran and it did, and made me faster. So, it's just been a good shoe for me.
Yeah. Marty told me the same thing when I first put them on. I was like, these are awesome. I feel like this is how you're supposed to sprint.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. So anyways,
that's cool.
You think you can ever talk to Newton about maybe making a dress shoe line?
Some funky stuff. Yeah, we'll see.
That would be pretty cool because they're bold, they're bright, and I mean they're very comfortable. Yeah. Those will help my calves during the workday. I'll get up and walk around.
That's right. It forces you a little bit higher. So that's good.
Yeah. Does anything tick you off?
Yeah. I mean, I think I read a quote the other day that anything that ticks you off reveals to you something in yourself that needs, you know, something along those lines. It's an opportunity to self-improve. Okay. Know? What irritates us in others reveals something that's in ourselves that, you know, and so, but there are things that, man, you know, that kind of bug me, you know, and I think social media, and when you get on Twitter, and there are people politically, and the minute they argue, and the stuff just gets so crazy. And it's not, to me, it doesn't bother me that somebody can post something, you know, good-hearted, and somebody right in there, you know, just bashes them. That to me, I can dismiss it pretty easy. I'm just like, whatever, you know, I don't have to dwell on that. I don't have to chew on it. I don't have to prove that person. I don't have to come in with this or that. But I think the thing that bugs me is that people feel like they can say anything hurtful without realizing it's a human being, that they can say something so without people just, we're in a world where we just tweet so quickly without thinking, man, this is a person, you know what I mean? And you're not tweeting to a million people, you're tweeting to one person that they're, you know, and I see, you know, people, man, I think sometimes we can take it too far, and you know, I don't know. There's a lot of really good things about social media. I don't think social media is good or bad. I think it's a tool that we can use to encourage people or tear people down. And unfortunately, some people, man, that's all they do is tear people down. And I just want to be somebody that speaks life. I can't go and fix it all, you know, and I can't cause people to stop saying bad things. But I can put out positive, and I can choose to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I can choose to see the best in people. And sometimes it's a struggle, especially if it's somebody and you're like, "Whoa, dude," like
Yeah.
I didn't know that's how you voted, So and it kind of can cause some weirdness, but overall, man, you're in control of what you put out. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and so just try to see the best. Try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and man, try to put out positive things and things. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
So
No,
I guess that's what ticks me off. But
I'm with you on that.
yeah,
Actually, and you do, like I've mentioned many times, you do a brilliant job, beautiful job of always tweeting thoughtfully, intentionally, and positively.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah,
that means a lot. I appreciate it.
It's true. Every single one of your tweets. I feel like it's intentional. It's something.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe it's in your mind, and you let it sit for a minute, and you're like, this needs to go out there.
Yeah.
People need to hear it.
Yeah.
And when
there's a cool feature on Twitter. When you write a tweet, you can either send it or you can save it to your drafts. I don't know if people know this. You know what I mean? You can sit on it for a second.
Yeah.
You look at it the next day and you're like, oh, I'm glad I didn't send that.
Yeah.
So you might want to, the encouragement to people, just maybe sit on it for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you for that. That means a lot. So,
yeah. No, it's true, because I get fired up. So I'm like, dude, why are you tweeting that? And so I asked Margie, and she's like, if you have to ask me, then you shouldn't tweet it.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's a good point.
Yeah. It's like, dang, I love my wife.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, man. Who are 3 people, no social media,
sure,
that you would like to meet in person or have a phone conversation with?
That I would like to meet in person? Man, this might get me in trouble, and I guess I kind of don't care. And I've said this I've said this before, but like, I would like to meet the president of the United States, and not because it's Donald Trump, but I mean one of the most powerful people in our world right now. I mean, I've never seen so many people who hate somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
as strongly. It is so. But just to meet him and say, man, I'm praying for you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. If God ever gives me the opportunity to meet the president of the United States, I'm not going to say anything but, man, I'm praying for you, or thank you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and I don't want to get into like, man, this guy gave up billion, because somebody always has an argument for anything you can say to support. And this isn't, hey, I support the America or anything like that. It's just me as a person, Nate. I've gone through everything that I've gone through as a human being. If this was the first day of my life and you gave me this information, I would want to just say, man, I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
Like, and that's one person that I would want to meet. Another person that I would want to meet, maybe, and just to say thank you, would be Michael Phelps, because when I was, after my wrestling career in college, I had back surgery, and then went through just depression, just identity. Who am I?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been an athlete for all of my life, and now I'm nothing. I'm just I'm never gonna do anything. And when I watched him swim in the Olympics in Beijing, it was, I mean, he did something that made me want to go get in a lap pool,
Yeah.
And I've never swam in my life.
Yeah.
And I watched something so powerful that it didn't force me. It was on the inside. I was like, man, I want to try that, you know? And then since then I've swam countless miles. I swam 2,000 meters this morning, and I've had people ask me, where did you swim in college? And it's like, I taught myself how to swim by watching YouTube videos of Michael Phelps, and the people are always like, well, that's weird. But I would just say thank you to him. And I'm sure he hears that, and maybe not, but I would just say, man, it's because of you that I swam, and I got into triathlon and all of that. So he's somebody I would just want to meet. Man, I don't know. I think I didn't really have much of a relationship with either my grandpa, my dad's dad, and my mom has told me, you would have liked to meet your grandpa. He would have, and so I think just to show the people. Even my mom's mom died when my mom was young, and my grandpa died. My mom's dad died when, just to meet those people and show them the person that I'm trying to be. I don't know. That may kind of sound kind of weird, but this is me just kind of thinking through it. But maybe my dad's dad or something. That'd be good to meet him. I'm named Nathan Everett Gomez. His name was Everett. So just to meet him and hopefully make them proud,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I love the openness and the rawness. And you talk about President Trump. If you were to lose followers or people were mad about that answer, then I really don't know what to say to that because it's you, right?
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be ashamed of being like, oh man, I hope I don't lose 1 million followers because I said I want to meet President Trump.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to as well. Man, if
Yeah.
he was like, hey, well, I'm gonna come on your podcast. All right, President Trump, the seat's yours. Secret Service, where they at? I mean, got snipers on the rooftop. What are we doing?
Yeah. And there are people who have won, teams, and they turn down an opportunity to come to the White House, and then there are people who go and they're so the pride that's there. I saw a West Point football team, and those young men were just, like beaming, and it was this sense of just, I don't know. To me, I was. Whether he has Big Macs there or not, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to feed me. I'm here because I just want to say I'm praying for you and I'm thankful for all that you've done. And I don't know, man. It's not a. I don't know. I really try to be a person who understands where somebody's coming from, and I want to know. And I have a lot of close people in my life that vote differently, that think differently, and I want to hear where it is they're coming from. And this isn't like a blanket statement, but I've never really heard anything that makes me understand the hate,
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
No, and to touch on your point about teams that have had the opportunity to go to the White House but have turned it down, what they're actually doing as well is it's not just that one team, but it's the whole entire team as far as the backroom staff that has a chance to go and see it, that now they're not going to because someone made this decision for them. And it's a shame because they worked. I mean, they may not get paid as much, and they may not be in the cameras, but they worked pretty hard to help they're part of the team, so they help them get there too. So that's a shame of it too. And I think Michael Phelps would love to hear someone just as yourself say, hey man, because of you. Yeah. So. And I'll be honest with you, Nate, man, because of you, you've given me more confidence to just be a better man, to give myself permission to say no to certain things, to say, yes, that's a great idea. And to be able to speak to people.
Awesome, man.
So I thank you for that, man.
Yeah. That's cool.
For sure. 100%.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing that you had to go through so far in life, and what was the outcome of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's such a, when you go through seasons of difficulty or challenged at the time, man, they feel like this is the hardest thing I've ever been through. And so, I don't know. Losing in the state finals when I was a senior at that time in my life was the hardest thing that I'd ever gone through. And that sounds, looking back as a grown man, that you see the perspective and how big life is and how silly it is. But it rocked me, and that loss shaped me to the person I am today because of how I responded to it. And there's this weird, it gave me this weird, Teddy Roosevelt has a quote that says, far better is it to dare mighty things than to be somebody who's never tried and who doesn't know what it feels like to win or to lose. And I remember when I read that for the first time, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And I felt like I'm in this group of people who knows what it feels like to give your absolute everything and still fall short. And there's people who's given everything and they've won and they enjoy the victory of it, and that's great, and that's a small group, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a very it's this sweet place to know that you've man, you have no regrets. You wouldn't have changed anything, and
Mm-hmm.
you've given something your very best, and even beyond, and maybe like to a level of just like crazy work ethic, and to get so close and fall short, and that hurt and that pain ends up becoming a victory. That ends up becoming you just you know how to I don't know. It's a strange thing, and so because of that loss early on in my life, I've been able to deal with hardship
Mm-hmm.
um, better, right?
Yeah.
And to the degree that like I know how to hurt, and when I'm running or riding and push through maybe physical pain and things like that as an athlete, and I've also kind of learned how to deal with setbacks and adversity, you know, losing the job and going through kind of what we went through.
Yeah.
It was pain and it was loss and it was new territory, but I knew that I had the internal tools to kind of get through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was a lot out of my control and a lot of things that, man, there are days where I felt helpless, but um, so you know, there's been hard things, but you know that suffering and knowing how to deal with defeat is is a blessing. It's been a
Yeah.
blessing in my life.
Yeah. That's pretty powerful, man. What would your reaction be if you since you lost that match? I remember you telling me the story,
Yeah.
and someone's like, "Man, Nate, it's just wrestling, dude.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
What would you say? What would your reaction be if
Yeah.
someone were to say that
Yeah. Right then in the moment.
right then
You
in the
know,
moment?
yeah. So I mean, I had a lot of people would say that to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. I remember there was a guy he took second place and he had graduated and he was this kind of this has been dude, you know, and I think he was drinking a beer and he put his arm around me, man. Second place is, you know, it's all right, man. Look at me, you know how I turned out. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know. And so it was in a weird way, like even if somebody kind of had something similar, I knew that they didn't go through what I went through, you know, and it was in that it was in the aftermath, you know, and the loneliness and the empty words of people
Mm-hmm.
that I realized, man, I went my journey of that I had to go alone was not over. You know, I'm still
Right.
kind of going through this place where people don't understand. And then, in fact, my stepdad even said, he said, "I'll never know how you feel because I've never once in my life put myself out there like you did this year." And that comment meant more to me than almost any other because
Right.
he was just saying like, you know, but um, in perspective, it is just a wrestling match, and it was, you know, but for Nate Gomez, and that was a huge instrumental turning point. It was a defining moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
That really helped shape me to who I am today. So
Yeah.
right or wrong, I mean that's kind of who I am. So
Yeah. If you had to go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
you know, this funny story. I went to when I was 25 years old. I was working at a church. I was an associate youth pastor. I'd spoke to their church at camp. They were at camp, and I was their week speaker at camp. You know, for the week I was
Mm-hmm.
their guy, and I was speaking, and they kids loved me, and it was great. And so they asked me to come on as their associate youth pastor, and so it was a good fit at the time, and I needed a job, and so I did it. And a few months in, there was a team of guys that were going to China, and there was about 5 guys, and they were going to work at this elementary school, and they were going to teach kids English and just work with the kids and do whatever the school needed. They
Yeah.
needed they had all these books donated, and they needed to build a library, just some things like that. And so one of the guys backed out at the last minute, and they said, "Man, we've already got a plane ticket, we've already got your room, everything. You got to get a passport and you know things like that and work it out. Can you go?" And so I was like, "Oh, sure." You know,
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, let's do it. So I went to China with these group of guys and worked at this school. And man, I fell in love with the kids. I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with the food. I mean, like I loved it. I loved everything about it. Like, gosh, it was it was it was awesome. I mean, I've never felt at home someplace like that. I mean, it was really powerful.
Wow.
But one day, one of the guys who was on my team, his name was Bud, and he was 85 years old. and we were working in the library, and it was just me and Bud, and he was just the most gentle person I've ever met. Like, I don't know if you've ever, somebody just so, like, the kids just loved him. You know what I mean? Just like flocked to this guy. And I asked Bud this question. I said, Bud, if you could go back and tell yourself anything, I was 25 at the time. I said, if you could go back and tell yourself anything at 25, what would it be? And he just smiled, this old guy. And he said, Nate, he said, when I was 40 years old, he said, I started reading the Bible. And he said, and I've read it every year since then. He goes, I just read through the Bible. He goes, I don't read a plan. I don't have, he said, but I just work my way through it. He said, if I only read a verse one day, I just read a verse. He said, if I read a whole chapter or a whole book, he said, sometimes I'll read a different version. I'll try the New International Version or the New Living Translation. He goes, but every year, he goes, I just read through the Bible. And he said, man, I wish I would have started that earlier. And he just looked at me and I mean, that's all I needed to hear. And here's a guy who's had, all I know is this guy is awesome, and he's got the spirit that I want, this gentleness, this love, this thing that kids just see and are attracted to. And he's got this sweetness in the end of his life. And if he could go back and tell himself one thing, it would be to read the Bible. And so that meant a lot to me and it impacted me. And so, that's what I would say to my younger self is, man, to read the Bible. There's something about reading the Bible that is more than just reading the Bible.
Right.
It is the Word of God. I can't even tell you how many times where I was just reading along and pow, like yesterday I read Psalm 19 and it just talks about how creation is the voice of God. And it was God saying, man, your pictures are truly speaking what God is speaking through creation. You're just showing people, And I mean, there's been times where it's just more than, it's such a personal thing, And man, that's what I would encourage my younger self. That's what I would encourage anybody. Man, this is the greatest thing you could do is read the love letter that the God of creation has written just for you. You know? And so that's what I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what would you tell if you had to change an outcome? What would it be?
If I could change one thing,
one outcome.
Oh, yeah, man, I'm thankful for the way the things have played out, and I think that when you look back on it, you see, man, that happened for a reason. But I think, I wish I could have won state. I think like being a state champion would have put me maybe in a different, but like I said, things have worked out and I ended up where I was supposed to be, but I don't know, I've always, I kind of played that out in my head. Had I won a state, would that have been different? I think there's like a movie, the guy, he makes the shot instead of misses the shot and it changes the course of his life. I don't know. And then he realizes it was better when he missed the shot or something like that. So I wouldn't change anything, but, I wish I would have, but it'd been nice to maybe see what it would like to win state. Just because it meant so much to other people, my journey was not just my journey, my mom, and it meant a lot to a lot of people, and so to have that moment to give to those people would have meant a lot to me. And the same thing with triathlon. I trained pretty hard for a race in Colorado, and got up there, and my legs just cramped up, and I couldn't hardly finish, and that hurt April and Hannah as much as it hurt me because they were so much invested in that journey. I mean, and it hurt my heart because our goal was, man, we're going to Kona, Hawaii, and we're going to enjoy that as a family. And I even had people that said, I have a hotel for you. I mean, it was like we were going to go do it. And I was telling myself, I was like, man, I'm qualifying for Kona. I'm going to do it. And when that kind of fell apart, it hurt. But I had a peace about it, and I would say, I wouldn't change anything, but if you could just kind of see how it would have been different, Hawaii might be nice, But honestly, man, I don't know. That's a really good question, but I don't know. I probably wouldn't change a whole lot.
Yeah.
So,
when was the last time you challenged yourself with something hard that you've never done before? So tell me about when was the last time you challenged yourself with something you've never done before?
Man, I don't know. I need to do that. I had trying to think of the last thing that I've done that I haven't ever done before. Um, lately I've been really trying to push myself to learn better photography. Like I don't know. I know very little about cameras. I mean, I don't even know what the terminology means. Like I don't know what like people will say like, oh, they'll compliment aperture or depth of field or like f-stop or it's embarrassing how little I know about cameras. I mean, I don't even know, you know what I mean? Somebody will
Yeah.
say like, what camera you have, and I have to look at my camera and I'm like, it says this, I take a picture of my camera and send it to them, like
Yeah.
I know so little about it. I put things on auto, and I think they're kind of like your pictures though, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't just hide behind that, and be like, I don't know anything about pictures. I just like to take pictures.
Yeah.
Look how good they are, whatever. I really want to challenge myself to get better and to learn, and not just so I can speak the language, but so that it's an investment, and I want to grow in that discipline. And part of that is really learning the equipment and getting better, you know, and then, kind of reaching out to some people who do it professionally, who do it really well, people who, I really like their photos, and really try to learn
Mm-hmm.
and learn different, because there's pictures where I see it and I'm like, man, I want to do that. Like, there was a guy, he was set up during the teacher walkout last year at the Capitol. He was set up and he had this black backdrop and he had a light, and he was held people who had their signs. He would let them come and he would take a picture of them. And I thought, oh man, I was so intimidated by that, because that's not my thing with photography.
Yeah.
But man, I saw his pictures on the other side and I was like, oh man, they look so good. Like, so I want to get better, and part of it's an investment. Like equipment with photography is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get better, and I want to challenge myself, and I want to learn, and I want to be better. And so that's the thing. And I'm kind of working on it, but not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I really need to step it up, and so that's what I think I need to do, and do something. Even though I'm doing it, something that I haven't done is really learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Yeah.
We talked about books, the Bible. We talked about movies, Cinderella Man.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at a pretty good stage in your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to see any movie, what scene from a movie best represents your life right now?
Yeah, right now?
Yeah.
Golly. This is, I don't know, man. There's a movie called Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And I don't know if have you seen it?
Yes.
Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And it's all about the cover of Time magazine or whatever, Life magazine or whatever they are, and he goes to the Himalayas and he's trying to find the photographer, right? And this guy is remote, no cell phone, so he has to literally go to the mountains to find him. And he finds the photographer, and he's taking pictures of the snow leopard, and he's all, chapped and sunburnt, and he's out there. The photographer looks at Walter and he's like, how did you find me? And then in that moment, the snow leopard, who he's been sitting there waiting for it to come out, the snow leopard comes out, and Walter Mitty's right there, and the photographer is zoomed in, and he shows Walter Mitty the snow leopard, and Walter Mitty asks him, like, aren't you going to take the picture? And he says, man, sometimes I don't take the picture. And he said, sometimes the camera's a distraction. And man, it's so powerful, because
wow.
I would take the picture, and but he's in that moment, to me, it's like it's communicating about protecting the purity of your heart towards what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And sometimes, like, actively protecting the purity of my heart, I don't know. There's something about that scene that really resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing this white deer, and I posted a picture of it, and the quote that he says in that, he says, beautiful things don't ask for attention.
Mm-hmm.
And the snow leopard, it doesn't let itself be seen, and they call it a ghost cat. And that quote, beautiful things don't ask for attention. And I posted that with that picture. And then one of Hannah's friends was over, at our house, and her mom was picking her up, and she was commenting about our backyard and the field that's right behind our house, which we call our backyard. It's not. It's just a big open field that somebody owns, but we have access to. And I told her there's a white deer back there, and she was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And I showed her the picture on my phone, and she was like moved by it. You know what I mean? And she was like, "Who took that photo?" And I said, I did.
Yeah.
She was like dumbfounded, and she couldn't, I was just showing her the white deer, just proof that there's a white deer right there. And she looked at my photos, and the look that she saw right through me. And she, for the next 15 minutes, with tears in her eyes, were like, "You got it." Like, she just like spoke life and encouragement over, like, "You are supposed to be taking photos." And I was like, "Yeah, it's just a hobby." And she was like, "No, I'm not buying any of that." Right. And she just boom right to me. And like, she was like, "You're like that guy on Walter Mitty who's in the mountains taking a picture of himself." And I showed her that. I was like, "I just posted this picture, and look at the quote." And the quote was, "Beautiful things don't ask for attention."
Yeah.
And that was a little thing that God did just to, like, you know what I mean? Like, God can speak your language.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can tell you all about God and how awesome he is, but until you hear God speak your language, and when he does, you have no doubt. You know what I mean? You're like, only God can know that. Only God can do that. And it was one of those moments to me. It was like, it's just encouraging.
Wow.
It just fills your spirit. And so that's probably the scene in the movie. That's where I'm at right now, trying to make sense of, my next step. Here I have this job, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful. And for some reason, like, this encouragement with photography and these opportunities, and like, what does the white deer mean? And like April says, the white deer means something. She's like, it means something. She just keeps saying that. And I don't know, man. It's like I'm on the mountain, and so I don't know. That's the scene, I think, that kind of describes at least where my heart and my spirit is right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which actually leads into my last question for you, man. What's the path forward for Nate Gomez?
Oh, man. I don't know. I've met with some guys who are mentors, older, who have kind of a similar heart and similar mind. And I've sort of kind of communicated this sense of like, struggle, I'm wrestling with these emotions, I feel like I'm this, and they've kind of said to me, like, "You're right where you're supposed to be, and just be patient, don't overthink it." And they were like, "Give yourself just some grace, and just one day at a time, and just keep being yourself." And there's a quote I read by Abraham Lincoln the other day, and I was talking about a pear tree, and he was like, "If you try to shake the tree or get the fruit too early, you'll ruin the tree and the fruit, but if you'll just wait, it'll fall into your lap." And man, I know that sounds kind of vague, and I know we need to plan, and I'm a big person about setting and achieving goals, and I'm the first one to tell people, "Hey, write down your stuff." But I feel like I'm also like at a place where I just need to kind of be patient and learn and keep soaking it in, and so, man, the step forward, I think, for me is just keep taking it one day at a time and appreciate the good people in your life, and things will take care of themselves. So
that's awesome, man. I like it. So more patience.
Yeah.
So it kind of just falls into your lap.
Yeah, man. Another Bible verse that, love is patient is the first thing that the Bible describes love. Everybody, love is patient, love is kind. But when you stop at love is patient, I think for me, you realize how impatient you are, even in traffic and people and just in line. And, if there's more than 3 people, you're looking, or like, where's the line? I need to get out of this line. You know what I mean? We're just we practice impatience, but love just says, "Hey, it's your turn," or, "Man, I'm good right here, on this line. I don't have to be anywhere today." And, the lady who's kind of maybe going a little slow, you're good. You know what I mean? You don't need me sitting here kind of waiting for you to figure it out. Like, the world is full of that. And I think love is patient, and God is so patient with me. So, man, but yeah, that's a good word.
I love it, man.
Yeah, man, me too.
Are your FCA speaking engagements open to the public? How can people come watch?
Yeah, sometimes they are. It just kind of depends on the group. If it's a FCA huddle, that's meeting at night or whatever, and they're open to kind of people coming, that's different. And sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes they have FCA during the day at the school, and it's not like I can just kind of bring people to come, watch for those type of things. But and then every once in a while, there's sort of like maybe a special event or something that would be appropriate for people to come and just sit in the back and listen or whatever. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How do people make? I guess are they called donations to you for FCA? How does that work?
Yeah, and that's been a hard thing for me to kind of find balance with and figure out and to ask and to be. But it's part of being on staff with FCA. Every single FCA staff person has to raise their own support. They have to ask people to give, and right or wrong. And there's people who want to give. There's people, man, they love FCA and they love and they would love to give money to something that's making an impact. And so you just got to find those right people. And so, man, I'm praying that God continues to bring the right people. And I've been blown away by the people who have given, and I've been kind of maybe surprised by people who I thought would give who haven't. So it's kind of it's both. But I have a website at FCA, my FCA /Nate Gomez. Yeah.
So my FCA /Nate Gomez.
I think that's it. But if you go to FCA, if you go to okfca.org,
okay,
I'm on. You'll find the whole staff, and there's way you can get there. So
it's NATEGOM easy.
Correct.
All right, man. Yeah. How about Twitter? How do they get hold of you on Twitter, social media, Facebook?
Yeah, man. So I'm at Nate Gomez on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
So I guess there's not another Nate Gomez out there. I was quick to get it, but man, I got the at Nate Gomez on Twitter and Instagram. And so that's where I'm on most of the time. So
yeah. Well, keep spreading that message of positivity, staying authentic, staying unique. Keep posting those amazing quotes and pictures, man.
Yeah.
And, you're definitely the one having the most fun out there.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on to the podcast
Absolutely.
again.
Love you, bro.
Love you, man.
Yeah. All right.